If you're watching and listening right now, you're giving multiple gifts. You're giving the gift of your time, your attention, and I believe what will follow in the barest of minimums, which is also in this case the greatest of maximums, I believe you'll give us the gift of praying. I've been volunteering or on staff at this ministry, at My Life Matters, formerly known as You for Christ. One or the other, I've been here for almost 26 years. For 20 of those years, going on 20 years, it'll be 20 years in April, we have been doing ministry at this place that we call the Warehouse. Now, it's come to be one of many places we do ministry on a daily and weekly basis. As you guys know, we have almost 24 different ministry sites, and at a minimum, every week we deal with about 900 students, and many of those students on multiple occasions each week. You guys know that God has just genuinely, generously blessed us with the opportunity to get time with tons of children and teens every week. And this place has become one of the main tools in our equipment shed for doing ministry, not only for ourselves, but with many partners. I just think back, I'm recording this on a Wednesday morning, and we've already over the last few days hosted 2 private events, partnered with a local school, and hosted a church for an event. Not to mention, there was a meeting of pastors here. There was a meeting of youth workers. The facility gets used for a ton of different things. I would say all gospel oriented. And we have been leasing this facility for all those years. And what we've been saying around here a lot lately is we have borrowed our past, and now it's time to own our future. We have the opportunity before us to not only buy what we call the Warehouse, but a little bit of property around us as well. And we're very, very excited about this opportunity to finally own our future, to own the forever home of My Life Matters. If we were to go back in time to the first prayer meetings of individuals concerned about gospel ministry, gospel discipleship to young people, if we go back some 25, 26 years ago, I would say many of us did not imagine having a youth center, but I would say, it's been in my mind since September of 1999, and then it took 7 years almost for that to come to pass. The spring of 2006, we finally opened. Lots of faithful ministry before that wasn't related to this property. Lots of faithful ministry going on today, not related to this property, but it has become our home offices, and it has become the place where we do a ton of ministry. We'd like it to be our forever home. If you went back many years, I would say no one but God knew whether a ministry like then You for Christ, now My Life Matters, could be sustained. The people who do franchising statistics were telling us all the way back then that there's no way that a community this small could or would support the ministry aims we had that were so big. And in a way, I sort of laugh at that, because that is logical human math, but it's illogical for the people of God to leave the person of God out of a work of God. So He is always the ultimate factor in any of these decisions. I think backward. It's forward from our starting days and backwards from these days. I think of that time when I proposed in a board meeting that we open a youth center, a ministry center. And as an idea, it wasn't rejected. It was just sort of one of those, okay, Tim, kind of moments. And then as the months passed and we found this, at the time, potential location, I remember the board was like, yes, God, but looking at me going, you sure about this? And I'm like, well, I'm sure of the Lord. And he opens doors and closed doors, and we should always be happy about any door he opens, and we should always be thankful for every door he closed. But, I'm sure of God. And as we moved into the offices here, actually moved our stuff the last couple of days of December of 2005, and we effectively moved into the offices in January of 2006. We had some hurdles to cross with zoning and stuff like that, but as I began to walk current partners, hopeful potential partners through the facilities, I'll never forget, one of my dearest friends, a fellow pastor, told me, says, "Man, you're crazy." And I literally just shrugged my shoulders, because, in a way, yes, I am crazy. At the same time, again, that's solid human logic. If you're calculating something, that's solid human math. Will this old warehouse, this old manufacturing facility, this old place of commerce, could it be? That's a valid question in the winter of 2006. Could it be transformed into a youth center? Would people give to make that happen? Could it be sustained? Could the always heating and cooling of our office spaces, the occasional heating and cooling of, not occasional, regular heating and cooling of a 23,000 square foot facility, could we find the partners who would make sustaining a work like this? Could we find the volunteers for the outreach we had planned with students? All those were valid questions, but to do that sort of math without God in the equation is logical in the sense of human reasoning, but it's illogical in the sense of spirit-driven Christian community. We want to be wise, right? But we also want to be living in eager expectation. We want to build on a solid foundation. We don't want to build rashly or unwisely, but we want to believe that, we're being led by God. And so all those years ago, we leased this facility, and it was a 1-year lease. The gracious lessors never made us formally renew that lease to make that year commitment again. They have never since day one ever raised the monthly rate of that lease. That is radical. And it means those lessors have seen themselves in partnership with us for all these years. Now it's time to, we believe, now it's time to own this. And we have some very practical concerns. Those same questions loom before us. We need to purchase the place and immediately do some fairly major repair work. We need a new roof on the whole facility. We want, with this purchase, a bit of land around us so that we can kind of own our parking. We want to purchase the building right in front of us. And just the purchase and the initial repairs are $1.6 million, assuming estimates hold up for those repairs. Putting that new roof on is a big, big deal. We don't want to, one of our committee members for this effort gave us the phrase, they said, we don't want to cannibalize our sustaining donors. And that is just latched into my heart because it's true. So you might wonder, why am I reaching out to you as one of our sustaining donors? Believe it or not, it's not to ask you to give more. If that is required of you, it won't be in this ask. That will be in the Lord pushing you. My ask to you is multifold. It is multifaceted. First, because you do express missional support, missional care, missional strengthening of our current work. I could not imagine going into an endeavor like this without saying to you all, please hear me. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't imagine going into this without saying, please, I humbly adjure you to please continue your faithful support. I can't imagine going into an endeavor of this tremendous, stressful undertaking without asking you to be our chief prayer partners in this time, to lift up the current work to the Lord, the pressing workload to the Lord, these precious children and students to the Lord, and also asking you to pray for a mighty move that would allow us to make My Life Matters our home forever, to make this place the place where My Life Matters calls home base. Wherever else God may bless us to expand, we want to see this be our home base. It's also critical to understand and ask of you to be willing to advocate in this time, to get our committee opportunities to share in front of your local churches and the groups that you have some participation or influence in, civic groups, prayer circles. Invite us to share. We will put someone from our team, our staff, our capital campaign committee, our board, someone will come and share more and intimately and answer questions. Your advocacy in these days is critical, and that's dual advocacy. You know, vertical advocacy with the Father and horizontal advocacy with the people in your circles of influence. That role is very, very critical. Your advocacy is more critical than you imagine. As you see us releasing resources or on social media, you know, that's another vertical arena that you have to share this with others, and it should prompt some I said vertical, horizontal. I'm not going to edit that. That is another horizontal. If you see something on social media, share that, but it also should provoke vertical advocacy, right? Your partnership is critical. Your increased intentionality is more critical than ever. And I just can't imagine going into this without engaging with you all. As you can see from the minutes that have passed, this would be a book where I'm writing it line on line and paragraph after paragraph. So I'm praying that this will land where the Lord needs it to land amongst our donor base. I recently started a teaching series, short little burst on pride and humility, and I just can't shake what one of the apostles said. God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. Therefore, humble yourselves so that in due course he will exalt you. I think that's critical at all times, but it's hypercritical right now in our movement that we don't do tricks, we don't do gimmicks. We talk to the people of God about the work of God and ask the people of God to be those who are listening to the voice of God, into the ear of the people of God, that he may move his resources through his people in incredible ways. Psalm 24:1 says, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and everyone who dwells upon it. I believe that with all my heart. When I was a a young boy, I would spend some time with an older lady, and she had a friend, and they had these sayings, and one of them would be to say, my daddy owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and the other one would say, and my daddy owns the hills, and it's just precious memory there. And it's just true. It's true. So we need your advocacy, right? If God provokes you to give to what we're calling the Own Our Future Fund, the OOF fund, okay, that's on the Lord. That's not my ask today. My ask is for your prayer and for your advocacy. There's so much more I want to say. I've been in this movement for a long time, and I can't tell you how many times, in how many ways, people have told us something wouldn't work or something wouldn't last. And people have been right about some of those things. We piloted some programs and tried some things that didn't last. People aren't always wrong in those estimations, but we believe God has given us an incredible foothold here in Person County, and this should be our home base. And I'm thankful because it's my hometown. The last thing I would say is we genuinely believe that having a space that is ours is critical for the secure future of our movement. We are very blessed to have many avenues to physically pursue clubs and ministries. But if we're very frank, we don't know that all of those avenues are permanent. We just don't. Let's be honest. I don't even want to name one and put a seed into somebody's mind, but we know many of those are borrowed spaces, and those borrowed spaces could change very quickly. Now, we all know everything's a borrowed space, and we're all on borrowed time. All of this is a gift from the Lord, and we know that. We know that. Yet, at the same time, we want to be wise and say, let's take one thing and own it. Own space. Let's own our future. Let's own the future of our offices. Let's own the future of space that we can use to do ministry. And I believe you have a very, very critical role in advocacy, horizontally out to friends and local churches. And again, get one of our people out to share about this in your group, in your local church. You have horizontal advocacy and you have vertical advocacy, talking to the Lord and talking to others. This particular video is made informally, and it is made to speak to you, our faithful, sustaining donors. And I trust that getting this message to you will land on many hearts, through many ears, and it will be reverberated through many mouths to many places where God will bring much fruit. We are in a critical season in our ministry. And not just in this purchase, on the sustaining side as well. More doors are open to us at this moment than we have the people or material resources to meet. So we are already praying that God would expand our reach and deepen our impact, even as we beg him to settle our footprint. And so I would just humbly ask you to take this in, begin praying now, and then consider who you might involve next, or how you might invite one of us to come and share somewhere. And immediately begin to soak this in prayer. And lastly, my ongoing plea is that you continue your sustaining giving. It is so critical, more critical than ever. Don't transfer your giving over to the project. As you hear about it, your heartstrings will be pulled, and you'll be tempted to transfer your ordinary giving, your staff support, your site support, your general support. however you've been given, you'll be tempted to move it somewhere else. It's critical right now that you, as our sustaining community, become an advocating community, even as you continue being a sustaining community. Thank you for listening to this non-professional recording, this informal time of sharing with you. And I would love to talk to you about the even more that is involved in all of this, and to let you hear from me personally how we trust Him who is able to do far more than we could imagine or think, to His glory forever and ever. Amen. Thank you for listening. Peace.